The snow began late that year the way it sometimes does, quietly, without announcement. By the time he noticed it, the street had already changed. Sounds softened as if wrapped in cloth. The usual sharp edges of winter dulled into something gentler, more patient. Even the houses seemed to lean inward, their roofs gathering white in careful layers, as though they were listening. He was walking home later than usual, his coat pulled tight against the cold, hands deep in his pockets. The day had taken more out of him than he'd expected. Not in dramatic ways, just the slow accumulation of small demands, unanswered questions, and conversations that lingered longer than they should have. December had that effect on people. Everything felt slightly heavier, as if the year itself was asking to be carried the last few steps. Most of the windows along the street were dark. A few glowed faintly with the pale blue light of televisions flickering behind drawn curtains. Somewhere nearby, a radio played a familiar tune, soft and distant, its melody shaped by snow and closed doors. He didn't catch the words, only the feeling, something he recognized without needing to name. Halfway down the block, he noticed a single window still lit. It wasn't bright or festive. There were no strings of lights, no wreaths, no movement behind the glass. Just a small lamp resting on the sill, casting a warm, steady glow into the falling snow. It looked less like decoration and more like habit, something left on without thinking, because it had always been that way. He slowed his steps. When he was younger, lighted windows had meant certainty. They promised noise and warmth, and the sense that something was happening inside. Dinners that ran long, chairs pulled close, voices overlapping and interrupting one another, not because they had to, but because they wanted to be heard. Over the years, those promises had thinned. Windows became reminders instead of places already past, of people whose names still arrived easily, but whose voices did not. Life had filled itself with schedules and expectations and the quiet mathematics of responsibility. The lamp in the window didn't offer any of that. It simply remained. He stopped walking altogether, standing in the hush as snow gathered along the edges of his coat. He watched the flakes settle briefly on the glass, then slide away, leaving the light unchanged. He wondered who had left it on. Perhaps it belonged to a child who had been sent to bed early, the lamp kept low so the dark wouldn't feel quite so large. Perhaps it was an older couple who had lost track of time, the hour slipping by unnoticed. Or maybe it was someone alone, someone who preferred a room that wasn't entirely empty of light. The answers didn't matter. What mattered was the way the lamp made no demands. It didn't ask him to remember anything. It didn't ask him to hope. It didn't insist that he feel a certain way just because the calendar said he should. It simply existed. Standing there, he felt something ease inside him. Not joy, exactly, and not relief, but a small loosening, like a knot that had been held too tightly for too long. Permission, he realized. Permission to arrive without explanation. To be unfinished. To let the year end without neatly tying everything together. After a while, he continued on, leaving the light behind him. It didn't follow. It didn't dim. It remained exactly where it was, steady and patient, as if it trusted that being seen once was enough. When he reached his building, he paused before going inside. The hallway light buzzed faintly, too bright, too certain. He hesitated, then stepped through the door and climbed the stairs slowly, listening to the familiar echo of his own footsteps. Inside his apartment, the rooms were quiet. He hung his coat, set his keys down, and stood still for a moment, letting the silence settle around him. Then, instead of switching everything off, he turned on a single lamp in the corner of the room. Its light spread gently, touching the walls without filling them. He left it on when he went to bed, not as a signal, not as a promise, just in case the night needed a little more time.